Welcome to the Wolverine Tailgate Show. I am Clayton Sayfie with Chris Balas and Austin Fox previewing Michigan and Penn State. We're from the Wolverine.com. Mr. Austin Fox, I need you to tell the people about the promo code Nike75.
Yeah, so it's an outstanding deal. You get I believe, $75 Nike gift card along with your first year to the Wolverine.com, and it's basically free. It's an offer that you really can't pass up. Limited time, so it's a great gift for any Michigan fan, and it's also a great way to knock out some early holiday shopping.
Yep, that's our Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal. I think Austin summed it up there. So 25% off your first year, free $75 Nike gift card right back to you. So let's preview Michigan and Penn State. Not exactly the matchup, the sexy matchup we thought it would be on Thanksgiving weekend when the third version of the schedule came out. But nonetheless, it's football, Thanksgiving weekend, Michigan, Penn State. The colors will look good. We might get fooled into thinking these are two good teams if it's a close game. At least the national audience might. But anyway, let's start with Michigan's offensive line. It's been a topic each and every week because they're shuffling guys in, shuffling guys out with the injuries. We'll start with, I guess, what you guys expect it to look like, Chris, and any update you have on the two tackles who have practiced the last couple of weeks here, Ryan Hayes and Jalen Mayfield. You think they're going to be good enough to give it a go?
I would hope so. In the old days, John Jansen would strap a piece of PVC pipe to the back of his leg and get out there to make it like a tendon or something. If he had a snapped tendon or a snapped femur, just to be able to be out there on the field. Now these guys have been on the field for a week and a half, according to Ed Warner, and who knows what's going through their heads. But I would expect if they are out there practicing, then they should be playing. Is the way I see it. Now, maybe there's something we don't know, but I'll say this: the longer that Ryan Hayes stays off the field, the more and more Carson Barnhart gets comfortable. That guy mauls people. He plays to the whistle. He's doing the old belt buckle in the face that Doug Skeen, our analyst, loves so much. And I think that kid is the future at one of those positions. So if I were Mr. Ryan Hayes, I'd be out there as quickly as I could trying to get my job back. So I think the same thing with Zach Carpenter at center. I think Andrew Vistardis plays hard. I think Zach Carpenter is a better lineman and a better specimen, better athlete. So we'll see who's out there on Saturday. But as Warner said last week, man, this has been the toughest job for him of his career, having 3 weeks to prepare and then having all these injuries and trying to put guys together. It's going to be tough. And this is a decent Penn State defense, guys. I don't think people realize that. Everybody's like, oh, we found our quarterback, Cade McNamara, this and that. It's going to be much harder this week going up against Penn State than it would have been against Rutgers.
Yeah, it was good to see Michigan finally start run blocking at least halfway decent against Rutgers. They got the run game going for the first time in several weeks. I know it was kind of fool's gold when considering it was only Rutgers, but if they get Jalen Mayfield back at right tackle, that would obviously be a boost. You have to like what you've seen from Zach Zinter, the freshman. If Ryan Hayes does return and Mayfield, then I wouldn't be surprised Zinter potentially start at left guard over Chuck Filiaga, who really hasn't. He's underwhelmed as a redshirt junior and hasn't lived up to the hype. So it'll be interesting to see which offensive linemen are out there and if they can continue the running game success that they had last week, if that's what you want to call it, because Penn State does have a lot of good athletes on their defensive line, and Jason Owe at defensive end and Antonio Shelton, a monster at D tackle. So if they were to run block at least halfway decent against Penn State, I think that would be a really good sign when considering, again, the athletes that Penn State does have on its defensive front.
And I think Jim Harbaugh made a pretty good point that a lot of those yards that Hassan Haskins got against Rutgers were where there wasn't much room to run. So it's not like they were mauling guys and pushing people off the ball. But I do want to see Zinter in there for Chuck Filiaga. Speaking to somebody in the building, they said that they think Zinter is the next Michigan All-American offensive lineman. Now, Jalen Mayfield, if he were to stay another year, maybe he gets there. Sadly, it sounds like he's already checked out and he already has made up his mind that he's going to go. But and that's what stinks too, man. You get a glimpse of these guys and then they're gone. But we've heard great things about Zinter. I think his upside is much higher. He made some mistakes, but really like him. I'd love to see what he can do and put the five guys out there that are the best players. And that's what meritocracy is all about.
Yeah, and you got to find the balance. So you got to win this game, and put the five out there that can win the game. At the same time, you have some guys that might be neck and neck with some of these guys, like we're talking about. Like second-year players like Zach Carpenter and first-year player like Zach Zinter and Carson Barnhart, a second-year guy. I mean, those reps are valuable. So, I mean, you have to weigh those options. And then the second thing, Austin and I talked about this earlier this week, but Penn State's defense is giving up a ton of points. in some of these games when you look at their scores, but the 13 turnovers that their offense has had has really played a factor in that. And you go back to the Indiana game, and what Indiana had like in the 200s, 200 yards or so, or less than 300. So it's a better Penn State defense than I think people think. You would look at 0-5 and say, well, they stink on defense or whatever, and you look at the scores. It's not necessarily the case. In Austin, you mentioned some of those guys I was going to bring up. Shaka Toney, as a defensive end who's lived up to the hype. He had 2 sacks last week. So we'll see what this Michigan offensive line will look like and then how they will perform against Penn State. The next thing, we can't bury the lead. Cade McNamara looks like he's going to obviously get the start, barring something completely unforeseen. Behind center, his first career start. I mean, he completely changed the trajectory of the way that game was going. He came in down 17-0. Obviously leads Michigan to a triple overtime game. But when you look at his stats and the way the offense performed when he came in, shouldn't have been a triple overtime game, considering he scored over a point a minute in the rest of regulation when he came in. How good is Cade McNamara? We'll continue to find out. But how much do you think he lifts this ceiling of this Michigan team? Because, Chris, you were talking last week that could have been the last win for Michigan at Rutgers, and now it seems to be a little bit of new life here.
Yeah, a lot. But at the same time, and as people have pointed out on the message board, we were saying, okay, we found their quarterback. They found their quarterback when Joe Milton beat Minnesota, right? And what's happened since then, teams adjust to when they see you on film, teams can adjust, and they're going to make Cade McNamara make throws that he's not comfortable with. And Rutgers didn't have that film on him. I think Greg Schiano is a very good football coach. So if he had to play him again and give him a week to prepare or something like that, I think it's a different story. And like you said, Penn State is good defensively. It was 100 and something yards, I think 190 yards in regulation for Indiana. And that's a pretty explosive offense against Penn State. Somehow managed to put up 36 points because Penn State self-destructed with turnovers. Guess what? That's not going to happen on Saturday, guys. And how many turnovers has Michigan forced this year? And they've made Michigan State quarterback Rocky Lombardi look like a hero. They'll probably put up a statue to him in East Lansing for their one win this year over Michigan. Noah Vedral, is that how you pronounce his name? Nobody even freaking knew or cared. But guess what? He threw for 100 or 380 something yards or something against Michigan. Sean Clifford's perfectly capable of having a good game if this defense doesn't come to play again. And there's no indication that Michigan can stop anybody through the air, or that they're willing to be more flexible that they need to be in order to stop some of these teams. We saw them drop 8 a couple of times last week, for example. I thought that was much needed, and I love aggression, and I love solving your problems with aggression, but when you're running into a brick wall, you got to switch some things up. So that's why, to me, there's still a lot to learn about Cade McNamara. I brought up John O'Korn against Purdue with you guys how many times now, and on the message boards, we thought, hey, John O'Korn's the guy, wow, what a great game. Dylan McCaffrey in just a couple of series against Notre Dame. Hey, Michigan's found its quarterback for the future. We don't know. But I think that Saturday is going to be very telling. If Penn State comes to play, and I expect that they will, this is a name program. They still want to beat Michigan. So I think this is going to be a dogfight, and it's going to be a tough one for Cade.
Yeah, I agree completely. This is going to be a significant upgrade from what he saw against Rutgers last week. Penn State's got athletes in their secondary. Lamont Wade and Jaquan Brisker at safety. Tariq Castro Fields at corner, if he plays, as one of the better corners in the Big Ten. He was banged up last week and left that game. But with that being said, I am pretty excited about what we saw from McNamara, because his throws were right on the money, and he made tough throws when he had pressure in his face. And I like the fact that he didn't put the ball in harm's way, and there were really not many passes, or any for that matter, that had a chance of being intercepted. We've seen him put touch on the ball that Joe Milton wasn't doing. That touchdown pass against Wisconsin to Mike Sainristil in the end zone comes to mind. He did it several times against Rutgers. So, again, we have to see him do it for a few more games yet. Penn State, obviously, on Saturday, preferably Maryland next week. But if he continues to deliver and have good games and continues making the kind of throws that we saw him make against Rutgers last week, then I think you really turn that excitement up another gear, and you really start to see that, hey, maybe he is the real deal and Michigan's potential quarterback of the future.
He just seemed to have the awareness too, don't you think? I mean, some of the things, at least the TV copy, there's, close-ups on him, and he's like getting guys in line. I think he shoved Eric All into place at one point. This is your backup quarterback who was really operating like a first-string quarterback that has been there and done that. The other thing is, listening to Doug Karsh on the Wolverine podcast with John Borton this week, he was saying on the 46-yard touchdown throw to Cornelius Johnson, where obviously Zach Charbonnet had a huge blitz pickup. Before the play, he identifies the blitz, turns to Charbonnet and just tells him, what's going to happen. And I guess they didn't even have that blitz pickup in their entire scheme. You can't teach stuff like that.
Right.
So he's got some of those intangibles. So I will say, although it was just Rutgers, there's some things that out there that, like, against anybody, that's great stuff.
Yeah, situational awareness is what Jim Harbaugh calls it. And it's not throwing, a bomb into traffic on 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 5, for example, when you only need 5 yards. You should be trying to get the first down. We saw that too often from Joe Milton. Knowing where the blitzer is coming from and throwing to the spot and knowing where your receivers are going to be and getting that ball out quickly, which is what McNamara did, even on that play that you were talking about to Johnson with the blitz coming, bam. I thought, oh man, you saw the receiver breaking open. He's not going to be able to have time to get the ball to him. That ball was out of his hand immediately. So those are the things. And you just hope that everybody buys in. You hope that there aren't factions. I was talking to Doug Skeen about it, again, Michigan's former All Big Ten offensive lineman. And I said, look, you guys in the locker room have their quarterbacks. He said, absolutely. But if you've got a team, then you understand that whoever gives you the best chance to win is your quarterback, no matter how much you like the other guy. We saw it with Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady, for example. There were a lot of Bledsoe guys in that locker room, but Tom Brady is leading them to a Super Bowl. What are they going to do? Are they going to complain? They're going to say, hey, you have to suck it up, man, because that's what team ball is all about. So, but I do like what McNamara showed. I do think it's going to be a much tougher challenge for him this week, and that is why I was the one clown that picked Penn State to beat Michigan today.
There you go. Yeah, I will say this. You mentioned you saw Cornelius Johnson breaking open and whatever. When you were in Piscataway at the game, but those of us on TV, we were like, oh, geez, he's just getting rid of the ball because there's a guy coming. No, yeah. He saw him, so that was a great play. Yeah. Let's move to the run game with Hassan Haskins. It's something we've talked about ad nauseum throughout the season. Like, they're just throwing guys out there. Are they just telling them, like, every 3 plays you go in? They found a running back in Hassan Haskins, the guy we've been pointing to. And Chris, you wrote your column right before the game last week, and you were saying earlier in our staff meeting, we get lucky sometimes. Where's Hassan Haskins? I think was the headline. Right. We found him. 22 carries, 110 yards, game-winning touchdown. Phenomenal. Like you mentioned earlier, Jim Harbaugh saying that, those were some plays that were blocked for 1 or 2 yards, and he got 6 or 7. Yep. Are we going to see that going forward? What do you guys think?
You got to start him, and you got to let him get into a rhythm. And I thought, everybody talked about Zach Charbonnet, and there were transfer rumors. I thought he played hard too. I think they all do. I think they all have the want to. I can't say that about all 22 guys that I see on the field at one time, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and a couple on offense. But of the running backs, these guys bust their butts. And I think Hassan Haskins, however, is the best, gives him the best chance to win. I've seen more improvement out of him than anybody. And like you said, man, he can put his foot in the ground. He's got great feet. He's not a blazer, but that 1 yard gain becomes a 6 or 7 yard gain. And then you're moving the chains. And then the offensive line is getting familiar with him and comfortable with him, he with them. And you got something going. So that's what you got to do, man. You can't just, in the middle of a series, for example, or in the middle of a drive, when a guy's leading you on the field, put him in there. I was watching film of some of the old Michigan games when Ricky Powers was in there and he was breathing hard, or Chris Perry. Some of the great Michigan backs, and you ride these guys, man, because they're going to get it done, and ride them until they give you a reason not to, is my opinion. And I'd like to see more of Hassan going forward and starting again on Saturday.
I couldn't agree more. If it's a true meritocracy like Jim Harbaugh says it is, then Hassan Haskins has absolutely earned the right to start and to potentially get in a rhythm and be the guy in Michigan's first few series. I don't know if they win that game last week without him running the way he does. Not only does he pick up yards after contact, but he's constantly breaking tackles and falling forward. And it seems like he does it at a much higher rate than Michigan's other backs. That was Michigan's first 100-yard game by a running back since Hassan Haskins last year against Notre Dame on October 26th. So it had been over a calendar year. That's not to say that Zach Charbonnet and Blake Corum, Chris Evans don't run hard, but I think Hassan Haskins has clearly separated himself as the best back in this offense, and the 4-man rotation obviously needs to go away or be minimized in a big way at this point, because again, Haskins has proven to be the guy. It's all right to throw Corum or Charbonnet in there at times, but you have to give Haskins every opportunity for himself to find a rhythm Saturday and moving forward.
I will say the other guys do have a role, and Chris Evans had a big fourth down pickup, I think, or third down, out of the backfield catching the ball. So they all can have a role, but you got to have a feature back, a guy that can take ownership of that backfield, pounding the rock. I love to see it. And there's unselfish. Chris, you mentioned it a couple weeks ago when we were on the same topic, and then we asked him after the game, Hassan Haskins, like, does it help you get in the rhythm when you get more carries? Everyone was kind of hinting at the obvious, like, hey, the first time we saw a feature back and it worked. And he was like, yeah, I don't care if I get one carry like I did last week or 22, as long as we win, as long as we have a good rushing attack. So these kids they're all in for their roles and things like that. But I think it's clear to everybody he's the right guy going forward. Yep. Let's shift to the defensive side. Kwity Paye, a guy who could possibly return this week, could possibly, and then, would be probable to return at the very least by the end of this season. What do you guys think about the prospect of getting him back and how big that would be?
Yeah, it'd be huge because right now, who is your edge rusher that's done a damn thing since Aiden Hutchinson and Kwity Paye have been out, right? I haven't seen, and they've moved Carlo Kemp, I believe, to end, and he's gotten some run there, and that's what you're going to have to continue to do, which means you're going to have to rely on guys like Donovan Jeter and Chris Hinton in the middle to really perform. And I thought Hinton had a nice game against Rutgers. Again, it was just Rutgers, so, but. Yeah, it will help, and I think there's a chance we see him today. Yeah, they've been talking about it, and the people that we've spoken to in the building have said, hey, it sounds like you might want to give it a go. But he's not one of your problems, guys. This guy is a team-first guy. They love him. He's a great leader. Guy busts his butt for the program, and I think he'll be out there if he can. So that's going to be huge if he comes back. I would imagine that he'll get a lot of attention. A lot of double teams if James Franklin's smart, and sometimes he is, sometimes he's not. But let's be honest, man, that would be a big boost for the Michigan defense and in accountability, because there were times that guys weren't going hard. It looked like a few times guys were playing two-hand touch out there. You need another leader out there to get these guys in gear and say, hey, follow my lead. I'm going to bust my ass. You better bust yours.
Yeah, Michigan just hasn't gotten the pass rush at an adequate level since Paye and Hutchinson got hurt. Taylor Upshaw, as a redshirt sophomore, hasn't done enough since he started starting. Luigi Villain, as a redshirt junior, really hasn't done much either since he's taken on a bigger role. So Hutchinson obviously isn't expected to be back this year, but it would be huge to get Kwity Paye back and that edge rushing threat that you really need from that defensive end spot. We did see Chris Hinton break through a few times last week against Rutgers. He got his first career sack, so that was good to see, but at the same time, you need it from the edge as well. Donovan Jeter and Welshoff and Jess Spate, I don't think can provide it at an adequate level. So if Paye were to return today against Penn State, that would be a massive boost to this Michigan defensive line, especially, again, when considering the pass rush has not been at a good enough level over the past few games.
Yeah, and God bless Carlo Kemp for moving out. But just the fact that your nose guard can go out and play D end is like a little concerning. And we've talked. In the defensive line and the lack of honestly just weight and meat inside in the defensive line has been an issue and something you could really talk about for days. And you look at the recruiting; they're not getting it done either. Let's talk about a couple guys that we could see in more of a bigger role. Hunter Reynolds, a kid at safety who stepped in and played pretty well. In his, first significant, amount of action, I guess, last week when Brad Hawkins went down. And then Cam McGrone goes out with the injury, and it didn't look good. And obviously, heart goes out to him for, you hate to see a kid have to get carted off the field. But Adam Shibley is a guy who has honestly just played really well and really solid every single time he's had to come in this season. Assuming we see a little bit more of these guys at the very least with Shibley. What do you guys think about them? Because they really stepped up and give those guys credit, former walk-ons.
Yeah, strong opinion. First of all, you shouldn't have a walk-on in your too deep, and I give Chris Shibley credit for being there. But when you look at guys that have left, Drew Singleton and guys like that, where is it a recruiting mistake? Is it a character mistake? Who knows? Guys leaving the program, but you shouldn't be in this situation in year 6, and that's what separates good teams from great teams. Obviously, is depth. Cam McGrone was not having a great year. He was overrunning a lot of plays. Wasn't getting home on the blitzes, and whether that's his fault or because they were telegraphing things, doesn't really matter. He wasn't putting up the kind of numbers that we expected from him. Adam Shibley, and Harbaugh again mentioned this when he talked to us. He said, not overrunning plays. He's in the right spot. Kid's a hard-nosed football player. It's nice to see. So against elite competition, you're it's going to be tough for him. So I don't think Penn State's got an elite offense, and I think it's pretty clear at this point with how banged up they are. that he can play against these guys. So Hunter Reynolds missed out on an opportunity to knock down a ball there on a 4th down play, but he was in the right spot often. And this is a kid, again, who cares. And with Brad Hawkins, one, we don't expect Cam McGrone to return, just to be clear about that. Don't know about Brad Hawkins, but Hunter Reynolds in there looked like he really cared and he played hard, and that's nice. I mean, you can't expect the guy to be out there, and tearing it up, but at least he gave effort. And against a team like Penn State that's had troubles throwing the ball, I think he could be okay in there.
Yeah, when you put yourself in some of these walk-on shoes, guys like Reynolds and Shibley, they probably are busting their butt perhaps more than some of the guys ahead of them on the depth chart, just because they do want to see the field. And if they are in the 2 deep, they know they'll have a chance to. We saw Shibley and the impact he made against MSU a few weeks ago when McGrone got hurt. And then, like you said, Hunter Reynolds last week at Rutgers when Brad Hawkins went out. So, again, obviously it's not ideal. You wouldn't like to have walk-ons contributing the way they are this year. I know Michigan has had some success with a few in the past. The Glasgow brothers come to mind pretty quick. Drew Wilson had some success while he was here. But, again, how often do you see teams like Ohio State and Clemson and Alabama and the elite teams playing walk-ons? Almost never. So it would be nice if Michigan was past this point, but at the same time, if these guys are working harder and putting in the extra effort, then I absolutely think they should be on the field over some of the starters before them if they're not working as hard as they should be.
Yeah, and you look at another walk-on, Jake McCurry on the punt coverage team. Is there a guy on the team that does his job better than Jake McCurry does his job?
No, and he's done a great job. And those are the kinds of guys you need, man. Those are the kinds of guys that help you win close games. And that hidden yardage, getting down there and downing a punt or whatever, is big. So more of that, please. I want to see more of that. I want to hear about less entitlement. And we've got people sitting there on the message board. Oh, what do you mean by entitlement? Give us specifics. We're not going to give you some specifics, and we're not going to sit there and rip on a kid. But we do have great information, about some of the things that we hear behind closed doors. And it's not good enough, and it's something that former coaches would not have stood for. Lloyd Carr, for example, obviously Bo Schembechler, and you can't let that infiltrate your program. And frankly, that's been the case for a few years now. So they got some things to figure out. When things go bad, how are people going to react? They've had some guys that haven't reacted very well, and you need to weed that crap out of your locker room.
Yep, there's no question. The last thing with just the secondary, Michigan's pass defense has been tough. We've seen Vince Gray, though, play a little bit better. He's kind of that number one corner, and I think he's kind of shown throughout the rest of the year, the last couple of games, that when he's playing well, he probably is their best corner, which doesn't say a ton about the secondary, but they're going up against Jahan Dotson, a really good receiver, a guy who's, despite Penn State not having a great offense, he's putting up huge numbers, 527 yards on the year and 6 touchdowns, second in the Big Ten in yards. They're going to be able to stop him. They're going to be able to slow him down because the deep ball is going to be thrown. The balls over the middle on the crossing routes are going to be thrown, and it's up to Michigan. It's up to Don Brown to stop that.
Go ahead, Austin.
No, I don't think they will be able to stop them because they haven't stopped very many good receivers this year. Jahan Dotson's one of the best receivers they're going to face all year. His numbers are off the charts. He tore up Ohio State for, I believe, 144 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's caught 8 or more passes in 3 of Penn State's 5 games. So, again, he's one of the best wideouts they're going to see. The real question is, does Penn State have a quarterback who can get them the ball consistently? And they don't seem to. Both Sean Clifford and Will Levis are completing under 60% of their passes, well under. But the problem is Michigan has faced poor quarterbacks earlier this year, and it hasn't mattered. They still tore them up. Rocky Lombardi for MSU is probably the best example. So I think the secondary struggles yet again. But with that being said, it probably has gotten a little better over the last few games, though, again, that's not saying much. But I expect Dotson to exceed 100 yards. But at the same time, again, I think that Clifford and Levis, both quarterbacks for Penn State, will likely play today. So Michigan has to be able to slow them down at least a little bit and not let them go off for 150, 200 yards or anything like that. So, again, and if they get pressure on Penn State's quarterbacks, that'll go a long way as well in slowing down the passing attack.
I've kind of given up on that. I got to be honest, man. If you can't rush the passer against the teams like Michigan State, and that's when you had both of your defensive ends healthy, they must be tipping off some things. And everybody have said, okay, Michigan's tipping off when they're blitzing, and from where. That has to be the case because it doesn't make any sense. You still had some talent out there and guys that could get to the quarterback. So now, in my opinion, you kind of don't. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust. And like I said earlier, they dropped 8 a few times. I'd like to see more of that. When you don't have the personnel, then you're going to have to play some more of that zone. I don't mind being aggressive if you're getting to the quarterback and forcing him to make tough throws, but when you're not, and they're just they have all day to wing it, and throw it over your head against those poor corners. It's not fair to the corners. So it doesn't matter who they are, so we'll see. But I just like to see good, solid, fundamental defense, and that's something we haven't seen all year, frankly. And even in the opener, Muhammad Ibrahim ran extremely well. I can't think of one game where you could say, okay, the defense really showed up and played a great game. It's past time for them to do that. So we'll see what happens today, but I'm fully expecting a back and forth affair, maybe a little lower scoring, just because these offenses, we'll see. I think Penn State's defense is better than people think, but what's the over under 57.5? I think I picked 30-27. So I guess right about there.
Okay. And then, yeah, the disturbing trend on the defense is every team other than Minnesota that Michigan's played has scored their highest point total of the season against Michigan. It's unbelievable, and you never would have thought we'd be at this point. But there you go. Final score prediction, Chris. I know you kind of let the cat out of the bag on your pick. I am a 31-30 Michigan win. I think the headline we're all going to be talking about the next day, we're going to be talking about Cade McNamara and Cornelius Johnson again at wide receiver. I think he'll have another big game, and I think it's going to come down to the wire. Like you said, it's going to be a late possession where we'll see what McNamara has, and I think he'll come through against this Penn State team.
Clay Dog, you and I are in the same boat once again. The main reason I'm excited to watch this one is Cade McNamara, and I think he's re-energized a lot of the Michigan fan base in a lot of ways, and not only that, but the Michigan team themselves. We saw the spark and the energy and the enthusiasm he brought last week, and that's the main reason I'm picking Michigan to win this one 34-27. I think it'll be tight as well. I think it comes down to the wire, and it's not going to be a blowout or anything like that. This Penn State team, I think, is better than the record shows, but I do have confidence in McNamara. I think he's going to have a good game. I think the defense struggles quite a bit once again, but when it's all said and done, I've got Michigan winning by 7.
I think Austin's the worst, right, so far this year in staff picks. Is that true?
I hate to admit it, but that's correct.
Yeah, okay. And it also looks like your mom's going to open that door behind you, and so you better pick up your Matchbox cars before you get clunked in the head and your mom tells you it's time for dinner. Because seriously, don't you have a better background, man? Can't you find somewhere else?
I think this is a phenomenal background. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Yeah,
you got to own it. You got to own it.
Exactly.
Yeah. In Boston, you mentioned that Cade McNamara's re-energized some people. I was going to say re-energized even the people that thought they would lose to Rutgers. So, I mean, there you go. He's got everybody on the bandwagon. We'll see what happens. It's going to be fun to watch nonetheless because, like we said, I mean, there was a time, and it was 1 week ago, that we thought Rutgers could be the last win. It wasn't going to be if Joe Milton stayed in. I mean, I'll be honest. I think he has a future and possibly could end up being a good quarterback. But, Cade McNamara has changed some things. We'll see if it's real this week here against Penn State. But make sure to check us out at thewolverine.com. Use that promo code Nike75. You get $75 Nike gift card right back to you after you get 25% off of your subscription. Enjoy the game, everybody.